Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Arthritis at Home. I'm Kelly Lendvoy from ACE, and today we welcome Deb Fowler to our show. Deb, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Hi, everyone.
Deb lives in Ottawa, Ontario, and she's been living with dermatomyositis for 17 years and is here to share her experience living with this rare inflammatory autoimmune disease. Deb, maybe to start off and help our audience understand where we're coming from today, um, what is dermatomyositis?
Uh, well, what I found is I have met several people that have dermatomyositis, and everybody manifests a little bit differently. In me, it's primarily a muscle inflammation disease, whereas some people have lots more skin involvement and rashes, and everybody's just a little bit different. But you'll often get in your big muscle groups in your back, arms, and hips and legs. Lots of inflammation that will hurt a lot.
Now, you've lived with it for 17 years, but you've told us that you suspect you may have had it since you were a teenager. Can you share with us what the journey was like to diagnosis? What its symptoms did you first notice? How did they evolve over time? And were there challenges to getting the diagnosis?
Well, when I was a teenager, just thought it was, like I had scaly elbows and scaly knees and, fingernails that just always looked kind of wonky. And I was told, oh, eczema or psoriasis, here, try this shampoo or try this. Oh, some scalp involvement as well. And nothing ever seemed to work. So I didn't have lots of muscle involvement or just didn't notice at the time. But as you get older, you learn, you see the patterns, you see the patterns in your body. And it wasn't until I was in my, um, that I had a really huge flare that I realized what all of the previous little flares or little signs of dermatomyositis were. So, um, when I was lucky actually that I got really, really sick all at once, and I had a huge amount of inflammation and had to be hospitalized. And I was just lucky to be diagnosed because at that time there was no antibody testing or no really good definitive tests for it.
Do we know what causes it?
Um, Not really. There's lots of people looking at different things. I do know that my family has lots of inflammatory autoimmune disease, not the same one as I have, but
Mhm.
in several generations on both sides of my mom's and dad's family, and also siblings that they have quite severe autoimmune inflammatory disease. So there has to be a genetic component.
And maybe if you could share with us, how has it affected your daily life? I'm thinking both physically and emotionally, and maybe describe to us some of the biggest challenges you face in managing symptoms like muscle weakness or the skin issues you referred to, or fatigue.
Um, I have not a super severe like for me personally, it's not super severe all the time, but I do have big flares and I've had more flares over the years. So recognizing the flares or what's causing the flares, like sunlight. A lot of people don't realize in myositis, sun can cause flares. And recognizing the flares and then being able to deal with them is a big thing. Um, you have to be active all the time and just keep going and figure out a way to move through your day because you're going to have pain in the muscles because the muscles are going to get inflamed. My philosophy is if you take painkillers, it's only masking the pain. You have to realize how much inflammation do you have because it's actually breaking down muscle. I'll actually get a hollowing out of a muscle, or it's like the muscles melt away. They just melt. So I just try and keep walking. Try and keep moving. I do physiotherapy. I consult with my rheumatologist to adjust medication. Um, and it's been a process. I've learned more as I've gone along, but I've also had more flares and been sicker as I've gone along as well.
Now, our audience knows for other types of inflammatory arthritis, the last 20 years have seen a big change in terms of the treatment or advanced therapies for diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis. What sort of treatments or advanced therapies are prescribed for dermatomyositis?
Um, well, right now, because the severity of what I have, I take steroids. I do, I take azathioprine, which is a fairly common drug. You'll take Cellcept or you'll take azathioprine, which is also called Imurin. And um, I'm trying to think. And I do immunoglobulin infusions as well. So IVIG, I do those um, infusions 2 days every 4 weeks. And that for most of the years, till just the last few years, has kept me fairly stable. And I like stable.
Absolutely. You mentioned physiotherapy. So, in terms of non medication treatment,
Mhm.
what are some of those that people living with dermatomyositis try to get access to or they recommended to take? I'm thinking physio, massage, pain management.
Mhm.
And from your experience, can you talk about the barriers to accessing these services and how that may have impacted your health and quality of life?
Well, I'm lucky that I have a healthcare plan that will cover some physiotherapy. And I found that if I don't do physiotherapy, and I do physiotherapy every 2 weeks, so it gets expensive fast. But if I don't do physiotherapy, I end up with too much scar tissue, and then I just turn into a huge knot. The muscles just don't stretch out. I have less mobility and lots more pain. So I find it's a requirement, but there's no public, like there's nothing on OHIP or in any province that will cover the physiotherapy.
And for someone who is newly diagnosed with dermatomyositis, what advice could you give them about navigating their patient journey, treatment, accessing care, and advocating for themselves in a healthcare system who might not know or be familiar with the disease?
Well, you need to build a team, so it depends on just how much muscle involvement that you have, whether you want a physiotherapist or not. You need a good rheumatologist that's going to take your calls. So he's going to be happier taking your calls if you take care of yourself and you are involved in your treatment and you know what's happening. So you pay attention to what's happening to your body. I take notes. I take daily notes. I know what's happening with the medication, with various things that are happening with my health. So I can inform him and we can make and I do research on reputable websites as well. So um like with my rheumatologist and my other doctors, we're a team to figure out a way ahead and where we're going and what we're doing. So like I've had numerous flares over the last 5 years to the point now that I'm not very stable. So it looks like we're probably moving to a biologic drug like Rituxan or what do they call biosimilars to a biosimilar. But 17 years is a long time to be on steroids and azathioprine. So you have to be flexible and ready to find new treatment avenues as well. So a new treatment avenue for you might be massage therapy and physiotherapy.
That's great information and advice, I think, for our audience. And that is what you've described sounds to me like somebody who um, has a large healthcare team supporting them, but you, the patient in the middle, being the quarterback of that
Mm,
team,
for
looking for
sure.
the information, trying to get resources to educate you and to be part of the decision making. So I think that's an inspiring story for our audience.
Yeah, well, probably the top piece of advice that I can give to people is to keep moving. Like I'm always in lots of pain, but I know if I keep moving, I'm not damaging my body and I'm not hurting anything. I'm just in pain because the muscles are breaking down. So you figure out ways to keep moving and figure out ways to keep moving ahead, and that's probably the best advice of all.
Deb, I want to thank you again for joining us. Our organization is called Arthritis Consumer Experts for a reason, and it is represented by experts like you, and being able to share your experience, your journey is so helpful to our audience. Thanks again for being part of it.
Oh, well, I'm glad to share my story.
And thanks to our audience who are viewing or listening to this episode. We look forward to you joining us again on Arthritis at Home. Goodbye for now.